What's up guys, today we will be going over the Trench Barrel nerf and breaking down everything you need to know about how Trench Barrel works now with the new update. So as you see in the perk description, the only thing that's different is at the very bottom it says for a short duration or until 3 shots are fired. So now the perk will deactivate once you shoot 3 shots compared to it only deactivating based on time before. So in this video we will be breaking down the new perk, then also when it's optimal to re-melee and re-proc the perk, and also comparing the damage per second of this gun to some other guns in the game currently. So let's go ahead and begin with the damage number of this gun. So without Trench Barrel, I hit 2523 like normal. Now proccing Trench Barrel by getting a melee, I now hit 3783, which is the same as before, so it's still a 50% buff, just like it was. That did not change at all. The only thing that changed is how the perk actually works and when you lose it. So just like before, you have 5 seconds, even though it says 4, 0 counts as a full second in this game. But the thing that's different now is if I proc Trench Barrel again, and if I shoot 3 shots, the perk will deactivate immediately, even though I still have 3 seconds left on the timer. So let's start breaking down the damage per second of this gun. I'm going to be shooting 9 shots for almost all the clips except the last one to make the math easier. So the first one is going to be the base damage without proccing Trench Barrel at any point in time. It took 2.528 seconds to shoot 9 shots, which means it does 8,982 damage per second without Trench Barrel procced at any point in time. Second, let's test if you just proc Trench Barrel once, so including the melee and the time, so just one melee proc, then shooting 9 shots afterwards. It took 3.522 seconds, so in this scenario the first 3 bullets would be on our Trench Barrel, resulting in 7,520 damage per second, so it actually lowered the damage proccing Trench Barrel once. Now let's try proccing Trench Barrel after every 3 shots, that way all 9 shots are on our Trench Barrel, melee shoot 3, melee shoot 3, then once again melee and shoot 3 again, and that took 5.4 seconds. So in this scenario, all 9 shots are under Trench Barrel, and that would result in 6,255 damage per second, so even lower than before. And then just for testing purposes, in this clip I'm going to melee after every 5 shots and shoot 10 total, so shoot 5 shots, melee, and shoot 5 again, and that took a little over 5 seconds. So in this scenario, 6 shots were under Trench Barrel and 4 were not, resulting in 6,507 damage per second. So what we learned from this testing is the more often you melee, the lower your damage per second is. And that's because every time you melee, your next 3 shots do 50% more damage, which means over those 3 shots you do an extra 150% damage, or 1.5 shots worth of damage. And the melee takes longer than it does to shoot 1.5 shots normally, therefore lowering the damage per second. But the more often you proc Trench Barrel, the more total damage you'll do in the long run. For example, let's say you shoot 21 shots without Trench Barrel, then 21 shots proccing Trench Barrel every 3rd shot, and the total damage would be 52,983 without Trench Barrel, then with Trench Barrel 79,443, so 50% more total damage in the long run. So there is a reason to proc Trench Barrel still. Now let's compare it to a few other guns in the game. First, the Merciless, which is exotic fusion rifle, and it hits 634 7 times per burst, which is a total of 4,438 damage per shot. Now let's go ahead and test the rate of fire 2 different ways. The first way, while it's ramping up from base rate of fire to max. As you see, shooting 7 shots, each one goes faster and faster. It took 4.752 seconds. So as it's spinning up, it does 6,537 damage per second. But what about if it's already fully spun up before you start shooting a target? So testing the rate of fire there, shooting 7 shots again, it now only takes 2.612 seconds, which means once it's fully charged, it does 11,893 damage per second, which is actually much more than EP shotgun currently. Continuing the comparisons, let's talk about legendary sniper rifle. So at 90 RPM, nothing too special about it. Go ahead and test it on the Ogre, get a headshot, hits 3,483. Now testing the rate of fire of this sniper. Shooting off 7 shots, I believe. It took 3.977 seconds, meaning it does 6,130 damage per second, so not too far off proccing Trench Barrel and EP shotgun. Now I didn't take the time to test any legendary fusion rifles in this video, but based off previous testing, on average, including loaded question, you do roughly 4,000 to 5,000 damage per second with fusion rifles in this game, and Merciless is the only one that really stands out in that group. 100 RPM shotgun's base damage is just that much better than anything else in the game. Final gun I want to compare it to is Whisper the Worm, which is exotic heavy, so this is going to be the first heavy we test and compare it to. But before the Trench Barrel nerf, EP shotgun still destroyed this gun even in damage per second. So that was the damage with Whisper breathing. Now testing the rate of fire, shooting 7 shots. It takes roughly 4.786 seconds to shoot 7 shots, meaning the damage per second is 12,342, so the best we've tested yet. And if you guys remember, before the Trench Barrel nerf, EP shotgun did almost 14,000 damage per second, and it was a legendary energy weapon and it still outdamaged an exotic heavy that was meant for damage. So overall, what did we learn here? The more often you proc Trench Barrel, the lower your damage per second will be, but the higher your total damage output will be, so there's actually a trade-off now. You have to sacrifice damage per second for total damage, which is a good trade-off in my opinion. For things like strike bosses and other things that don't have that much health, you don't have to proc Trench Barrel to maximize your damage per second, but for things like raid bosses or bosses with much more health, proccing Trench Barrel and upping your total damage output by 50% in the long run will help you greatly. One thing that we all have to keep in mind is that Trench Barrel is still the best shotgun perk that we have currently unless there's something new in Black Armory. It's just more in line with other things in the game. EP Shotgun is still the best shotgun in the game for PvE, it's just not so good that you can't use anything else. If you're trying to focus on damage per second only, something like Merciless is better, but if you're trying to focus on total damage output, you know, then a Sniper might be better, but shotguns with Trench Barrel are kind of like in the middle currently where they're decent at both. It'll definitely be interesting to have this conversation again in a few weeks once Black Armory settles down, because we don't know what's in store for us then. We already know Trench Barrel is going to be a perk on more shotguns. We saw a kinetic one with Trench Barrel in the trailer, which opens the door to using energy primaries that we can't use currently because we're locked to the EP shotgun in the energy slot. Then also opens the door to maybe a void shotgun in the future that has Trench Barrel, then maybe another perk like Surrounded. That would be much better than EP shotgun because of the fact that it can pair with Tractor Cannon. And that leads me to another topic I want to discuss really quick. There's a rumor out there that Zenith of Your Kind, which is a void full auto 100 RPM shotgun, paired with Tractor Cannon is better than EP shotgun. And that's not necessarily true. Since you can only have one debuff at a time, you could use Melting Point or Tractor Cannon, which both would result in 50% more damage for whatever type of shotgun. So EP Shotgun under Melting Point is the same as Zenith of Your Kind under Tractor Cannon, but EP Shotgun then can also proc Trench Barrel and get 50% more damage on top of that. The only difference is that Zenith of Your Kind plus Tractor Cannon is a lot closer to the EP Shotgun combo than it used to be. Now is it better? Not necessarily. And in the future, if we have a void Trench Barrel shotgun, it'll be better than both of them. So that debate will probably be dead within a few weeks, hopefully. I think that's all I want to say for now until we have some more shotguns under our belt to mess with in the Black Armory. But overall, I think we can all agree we're probably a little bit sad that the EP shotgun isn't as good as it used to be. But at the same time, I'm sure we can all admit that we're happy that there's actually options now in the game and we're not locked to one gun for the next year. Anyways, the rest of the video will just be some strike gameplay. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
Unknown fire team, do you copy?
Copy. Are there others with you?
No, just us down here. We came down here as a squad of 9. Got picked off one by one. Watched a wizard rip the light out of my best friend. And funnel it into some kind of crystal.
They're harvesting guardians. These are guardians.